Hello everyone, it's Melanie here with Vintage Studio. Welcome to my YouTube channel. I was recently asked by a friend named Donna if I could make something with this old stained and torn dresser scarf. Well, that's like Merlot with some dark chocolate. Yes, please. Look at the beautiful embroidery on this old dresser scarf. Or it could have been a runner, table runner. I'll call it a dresser scarf. But anyway, it's got this gorgeous embroidery. There were a few stains and holes, which doesn't give me heartburn when I tend to cut these up. So to do justice to this, I wanted to use every bit that I could. And she asked for cards or bookmarks. So I'm going to make several cards. In fact, I'm going to get 10 cards out of this dresser scarf. So this is a little light box that I've had from back in the day when you used to have like brass stencils and stuff. But anyway, it helps me line up my cards behind this linen to decide how I can do justice to cutting this up with very little waste. So you can see I've got a 5x7 inch card base. I can get 2 out of these larger images here. And then if I turn this to the side, I think I can get several out of this 4 1/4 by 5.5 smaller card base. I can get 3 out of these little side pieces here. Now the tatting around this linen was just as lovely as the embroidery, so I want to preserve as much of that as possible. As you can see, to get the most out of this dresser scarf, I played around with doing portrait and landscape cards, and I will do both again so that I have very little waste out of this gorgeous vintage linen. I am so proud that she entrusted me to do this project, and I really want to do the best that I can here. So again, I'm trying to also save some of that tatting, and I don't mind if it goes over the edge of the card because it'll fit in a standard envelope just fine. It'll give just a little bit. So I'm trying to line this up again. I want to give myself just a little bit of extra along the edges so I can cut that away, and it will cover my cards completely. So here I'm measuring a little more than 5x7 using a T ruler, and you can see I'm allowing for that tatting. Again, the tatting will add a little more than the standard 5x7 inch card base, but that's okay. Since it hangs over the actual card base, that gives you the allowance to actually get that into the envelope when you're ready to mail these cards. So I'm just doing a very light pencil mark here. The T ruler is great on this linen, and so is the rotary cutter. Now this is a little thinner linen, so it's going to cut very smoothly with the rotary cutter. Just again, a little light mark here. And that will be my first card, portrait style. Here's that little rotary cutter. I showed you this before. It is actually from the Dollar Tree, and it does a super job. It just cuts like butter right through this linen. I have a little bit of a hard time with the tatting because it's a bit thicker and multiple ply of threads there, so I'll just take my scissor and clip that when I get the base of my card front cut here. Now I did, like I said, I was able to create 4 5x7 inch cards and 6 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch cards. Look how beautiful that is, and that tatting is to die for. So again, I'm bringing over one of my favorite products. This is an Elmers Spray Bond, and it is a spray adhesive, and if you work quickly, you get a permanent bond. So this is very easy to do. There's just an old paper box that I use for my spray box so it doesn't get out everywhere. And the gray circular mat here in the background is actually a silicone microwave mat from a big box store. But you can see I can go over the edges here, and the tatting has a little bit of that craft bond on it, so it's a little bit sticky, and that's okay because it's not going to stick to that silicone circle there in the background. So just pull and straighten with your fingers the best that you can. And then I like to bring over a brayer to really smush this into the card base for good adhesion. See how that tatting stands out? And I know it's only on two sides. That's the best I could do with this dresser scarf, but I love the way it came out, even with just two sides of the tatting. Nothing's going to be perfect. These linens aren't perfect. It's okay. Try to tuck that back up there while it's got a little bit of that wet spray adhesive. Then I just took a chunky happy birthday die and went in kind of this greenish shade, which I think complemented the embroidery very well. And I'm going to put that down on the card front, and that'll be it for that card. Now, she requested birthday cards and thank you cards, and I'm going to show you what I came up with here in just a second. So here is that first card that I worked on. I love it. I've got a little vintage linen sticker there, as if people wouldn't know, but I like to mark them so that they are aware that this isn't new linen, this is vintage linen. There's so many things to love about it. It's just a wonderful art form. Okay, now here is where I went with my rotary cutter, and I've got several of these smaller pieces and two more of the larger pieces. So I'm going to get those put down the same way. I'm not going to go through all the steps with you since you saw how I did that on the larger card. I'm just going to show you that this is all that I had left after making those 10 cards, and here they are. A combination of landscape and portrait cards. The inside sentiments are different, just so she has several to choose from when she's sending these to family or friends. There's some of the thank you cards, and here comes the sweet smaller cards. Thank you so much for dropping by today. I hope you got inspired to do something with stained and torn linens. Again, I don't like to cut up good linens, but when they've got a hole or a stain and they're not being used, I love to repurpose them and give them a new life. This is in my element, folks. I love it. I'm glad to share it with you. Pop by next week to see what I did with those other scraps. See you next time, and happy crafting, everyone.